Hey guys, I'm Utsaf Banka, and in today's video we're going to take a look at the iPhone XR and see how it holds up in 2020. That is approximately 2 years after its launch. So we're going to compare it with the iPhone SE that was launched earlier this year and the iPhone 11 that was launched last year, and see whether the iPhone XR is still good value to be purchased today in 2020. At the time of making this video, the iPhone SE retails at 42,500, the iPhone XR at 52,500, and the iPhone 11 at 68,500. So let's take a look at what's similar in these three phones. That's the software. All three phones run on iOS 13, which is the latest software that Apple has to offer today. And given that all three of them have amazing processors by today's standards, they'll easily be able to run iOS 14, which is expected in September this year, along with a few more software updates in the coming years. The difference comes in the software experience, where the iPhone XR and the 11, given their modern bezel-less design, benefit from the gestures available where you can swipe up to go to home or swipe up and hold to get to the recents menu, whereas these gestures are replaced with the home button in the older design of the iPhone SE. Barring that difference, the software department is a tie for all these three phones. In terms of build, all three phones have a front and back glass panel along with an aluminium frame. In fact, except for the rear camera module, the iPhone XR and 11 have the exact same build right down to the weight at 194 grams. They have the bezel-less design with the top notch and a 6.1-inch display. The iPhone SE has the dated iPhone 8 type design with the top and bottom bezels and the home button. It has a smaller screen at 4.7 inches, but it comes in very light at 148 grams, so it's going to be very comfortable to hold. I personally prefer the modern design on the iPhone XR and the 11 along with a larger display, but that comes down to your preference. If you consume a lot of media, watch a lot of videos, play a lot of games, do a lot of internet surfing, then you might find the iPhone SE screen to just be a little too small. So if all that doesn't really matter to you, then you'll be pretty happy with the iPhone SE. We've spoken about the difference in the screen size, but when it comes to the actual technology used in the display, they're pretty much the same across all three phones. Apple does have different naming conventions for them, where the one on the XR and the 11 is called the Liquid Retina display and the one on the SE is just called Retina. But if you dig deeper, the levels of brightness, the pixel density, the haptic touch technology, the True Tone display that adapts to your lighting conditions, they're pretty much the same. Now let's talk about the major differences. In terms of performance, the iPhone XR runs on the A12 Bionic processor and the iPhone 11 and the SE run on Apple's latest A13 Bionic processors. Apple claims that the A13 chip is up to 20% faster than the A12 chip on the XR. So this means that the iPhone 11 and the SE are going to be much snappier and much more efficient in terms of performance as compared to the iPhone XR. But this in no means that the iPhone XR is a slower phone. I've been using it for more than a year now and it's extremely snappy and extremely fluid even today. The difference comes in terms of future software support, where given Apple's history, I would expect the iPhone 11 and the SE to get the latest software updates for at least the next 4 years, whereas the iPhone XR may just get it for 3 years. In terms of battery, the iPhone SE comes with an 1800 mAh battery and the iPhone XR and 11 comes in at 2900 and 3100 mAh respectively. Now, in light of Android phones having 4000 and 5000 mAh of battery, these numbers seem really small. But in my experience, the numbers don't really matter when it comes to Apple. Apple designs their chipsets in complete sync with their hardware and software, so that results in amazing power efficiencies. I mean, the 3000 mAh battery on the XR and the 11 can easily outlast the 4000 mAh battery on the Samsung Galaxy S20. Now, even though the battery capacities in the XR and the 11 are pretty much the same at around 3000 mAh, the iPhone 11 is going to last much longer due to its more power efficient A13 processor. The iPhone SE, on the other hand, with its sub 2000 mAh battery, is just not strong enough, even with the latest A13 processor. The iPhone XR will easily outlast the iPhone SE, and even today, after a year of use, it gives me about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time on a single charge. All three phones support wireless charging as well as fast charging, but out of the box they come with the same normal 5-watt charger, so if you want to take the advantage of fast charging, you will have to buy a fast charging adapter separate. In terms of security, the iPhone XR and the 11 come with Face ID, that's facial recognition, and the iPhone SE comes with Touch ID, which uses your fingerprint. Now, Face ID is much more secure than Touch ID, and in my opinion, it's more convenient to use as well, but that comes down to your own personal preference. However, one thing to note is that given our current situation, Face ID doesn't really work when you have masks on. So if you plan to buy the iPhone XR and the 11, you might have to input your password more often than not. In terms of camera, all three phones have amazing camera systems built into them. The iPhone XR and the iPhone SE have a very similar 12 megapixel rear camera. They both support 4K video recording at 60 frames per second, and they both have optical image stabilization that will allow you to shoot very smooth videos despite unintentional movements. However, given that the iPhone SE runs on the latest A13 processor, the software imaging processing may be better and it may result in better photos than the iPhone XR. The iPhone 11 has a dual camera setup on the back with a 12 megapixel wide and a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and given that it runs on the latest hardware and software of Apple, it will easily be the best camera out of all three. And in terms of the front camera as well, the iPhone XR and the iPhone SE have the same camera, whereas the iPhone 11 has a slightly better one. One place where the iPhone SE falls short is animojis. Using the front camera and the Face ID on the iPhone XR and the 11, they're able to create these fun little animojis that mimic your facial expressions with remarkable accuracy. Now I can talk about the camera sensors and their performance in much more detail, but the point I'm trying to drive here is that the iPhone XR holds up really well when it compares to the other two phones. And at the end, we can't forget the fact that the iPhone XR is approximately 20,000 cheaper than the iPhone 11. So at some point, there is a trade-off between how much the extra ultra-wide camera or the slightly improved performance because of the A13 chip matters to you. So if you're an absolute camera enthusiast, then go for the iPhone 11, but the iPhone XR's camera will not disappoint you. To sum up, if you have the budget and you're going to use the phone for the next 3 to 5 years, then go for the iPhone 11. It's a really good phone that will perform really well and last you a very long time. Choosing between the iPhone XR and the SE is going to be the harder decision. At one end, you have the bigger screen, the bezel-less design, the larger battery in the iPhone XR, but you sacrifice all that for the lower price and the better performance in the iPhone SE. At the end, it comes down to your own personal preference and what matters to you more. If you don't like the larger form factor of the iPhone XR and the larger screen doesn't really matter to you, then go for the iPhone SE. But Apple is expected to come up with the latest lineup of phones in October this year, which is just 3 months away. And historically, that means a significant price drop for its older phones. So if you're not in dire need of a new iPhone right now, I would suggest to hold off and see how the prices move in the coming months. It's possible that the iPhone 11's price may drop down and may come into your budget, which will then be an amazing value for you. That's it for my video today. If you liked it, please share and subscribe to my channel. Catch you guys in the next one.